to watching rugby with Lee. This week we saw All Blacks versus Argentina, and you only saw a part of the South African game, but I watched the whole horrible debacle. It was awful. I
What what was wrong with the South Africans? Not good.
it, well, they lost.
Yeah, yeah,
None of them had any idea. It was pretty much once they go past one pass, they look terrible. They
yeah,
look as if they don't know what to do. The the I don't know. It was wet. The refs
yeah,
were
yeah.
the ref wasn't making sure the line was back. They were having scrum after scrum after scrum, and both sets of forwards were tired and just bashing. Kurtley Beale was playing first five, and
Yeah, I
so
saw.
it was you should go back and watch it because even Cheika's for halftime sum up of the game was like when we're on with feet and we're going forward, we're doing well, but when we're on the ground, we got to get back up and you got to react to things. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what? That is just. I think it sort of shows that he doesn't know what he's just yelling. There's no one
yeah.
around him.
It gives you that impression that that's what he's doing when he's in the box.
Yeah,
But he's been reasonably successful with the Waratahs, and I think with an Irish provincial team. Was he at Munster? But
yeah, but you can
you wonder what's
see.
happening now. The pressure of not winning, maybe. Yeah,
Well, Guinea. I like Guinea. I like
yeah.
Kurtley Beale as a second five. The forward pack looked better, but
Okay.
they were it was static movement. I mean, not static movement, but it's oxymoron. But the South Africans weren't doing anything different. I think
Right.
I think the All Blacks look good because they string more than one pass together,
Yeah.
and they were hitting the shit out of each other. But I don't know what comes first. I don't know if it's the refs not keeping a good defensive line that comes first.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's got to be a reward for keeping hold of the ball, which is space. And
Yeah.
if you haven't got space, then there is no reward. You might as well not have the ball because it's much easier to tackle someone who is standing still than someone who's running onto their pass because they've got a bit of room.
Can you tell Mum to go upstairs or go outside?
Yeah, okay. Nolene? No. Nolene? Would you shut that door? Oh, okay. Right, so yeah.
Uh,
But we can start again.
no, I'll keep on going. It doesn't matter.
All right.
Uh, but we had Louisa last week. I mean Nina last week. Now we got Mum this week. But they don't even take points when there's points available. There's a kick inside with like 35 minutes to go. There's a kickable kick just outside the 22, and they go for touch or a scrum or it's and Kearns is going, oh, you want to take the points when they're down here, as if like a good wiper's kick couldn't give you in the same position like 2 minutes later after you kick off.
Well, especially after you threaten them with the ball in hand,
Yeah,
you know. And for every pass you make along the attacking line, the wings are drawn up to the front line because they might have to make a tackle, which leaves space that you can kick into.
it was trench warfare, Cold War
Yeah.
type of rugby,
Okay.
and no one was doing anything exciting. And then LaRue had a terrible, terrible game. Like it was one of those games where a winger can and a fullback could have. I know I had too many of them where you're trying things and you're just trying too hard,
Yeah.
and nothing's coming off for you. And it's weird that not too often will a back get replaced for that. When I think sometimes it isn't a backstay. Nothing's sticking. You know, I know Bowden Barrett's had ones like that. So has Mackenzie. Where why don't you just make a tactical substitution rather than just having it all forward related? But I think maybe it's because it was so attrition based that they couldn't
No,
they
yeah,
couldn't. But the Australian prop got
yeah,
flipped. He did a flip in the scrum.
yeah,
Oh, that looked awful.
yeah.
And
Uh,
and then at
he
the end of the
he
game,
guys a lot, didn't he?
everyone was
And Bart Rice lot.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
everyone was coming at the end of the game and smacking him on the back of the head. Congratulations.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Oh,
Well, it's going to be interesting this weekend because um, the only thing Argentina couldn't do was cross the try line. They were able to run with the ball. They had more than their share.
how
They had territory.
how much do you think that I think the All Blacks should have got penalised a hell of a lot more than they did,
For being offside.
being offside at the breakdown and generally the defensive line.
Well, the thing to look at with the All Blacks is that they'll push the law to the limit.
Yeah.
And the moment the referee blows them, they adjust to it immediately.
Yeah.
But if the ref doesn't blow it, they'll keep doing it.
Well, this was
the rules of the game.
This was
Yeah.
the case in the Australian game, and
Yeah.
they had one line-out judge who was calling everything not straight, and the other one who wasn't calling anything not straight. And I think it's time that you have two referees.
Yeah.
It's too much. It's too much that the touch judges don't feel as if they have enough authority to call, and there's too much going off for a single ref to look at.
But when you look at throw-ins to the line out and to the scrum, and we've complained about this for years, but straight is straight. If you look up the dictionary, there's no alternative. There's no, alternative facts.
It's kind
that
of weird.
Straight is not straight.
It was they were straighter when you couldn't lift, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's easier when you can lift. Like I remember when South Africa came back in rugby, and no one was lifting before that,
No.
and we were like, well, this looks really really easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this,
Well, the other thing that it has encouraged us to keep with lifting, because I was involved with this when I was on the laws committee, and oh God, there's someone at the door now.
that's right. Is Mum here?
No, she's gone.
All right.
Oh.
All
Who
right.
was coming to the door? Oh, shit.
All right, we're back.
You're gonna have to
Hope it's not a Mormon or something.
No, it's a guy about the window upstairs in our bedroom. But I think in the All Black game.
No, what were you going to say about what were you going to say about the line out? You said you're in a laws committee and you were convinced to keep it because
Yeah. They were going to do away with lifting.
Yes.
But they hadn't thought back to the situation where when there was no lifting, it was a barroom brawl.
Yeah.
They're all belting each other.
Yeah.
And some of the greatest players in the line-out didn't jump more than 2 centimetres off the ground, but they still got the ball.
Well, that was before there was video cameras.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think Argentina will go well against Australia. I think they're a pretty good team.
Oh, I think they'll win. I think their wings were amazing. I think New Zealand got caught out by underestimating how fast they are.
But the other thing there was, how many times has wings got to be told not to come off their man and come in to tackle the ball area?
I thought there were so many changes, and I don't know if it's the case that like Nene Milder-Skudder and some other guys got in the team and they're like, okay, we when you've been dropped or you come in and you want to do as much as possible, and there's a desperation that comes with that, and you do things like, instead of, he wanted to be the hero and come in and stop the defense rather than staying out on his man, which was the thing he should have done. And I don't know if that's sort of, okay, here's your chance, you get to play against Argentina, and it creates this desperation that causes people to do things out of character.
Yeah, maybe you're right. But the interesting thing is that in the Canterbury teams that Hansen was involved with, as well as Wayne Smith and those, they had wings who did what was called shadow tackling.
Yeah.
Which means they keep between the ball carrier and their man.
Yeah.
And the ball carrier eventually runs out of room and he's unable to pass the ball to their man because they've blocked it. And they were very, very good at it. It was quite brilliant, really.
I don't know why you want a wing to encourage the ball to get passed to the person who's furthest away from your defence.
Yeah. No.
It makes no sense to me.
No, it means that the attack passes the ball to the space you've moved away from.
Yeah.
That means you can go a long way down the field.
Yeah.
But, I also thought, that All Black scrum, a pretty powerful outfit.
Yeah.
They were far better than the Pumas scrum. Held its own, but boy, they were having to try hard. And they taking a lot of guts out of them.
And they weren't doing enough around the park to warrant that.
No.
Yeah, I felt that.
Yeah. The only criticism you could have of the All Black front row was when the Argentinian centre got the ball, recognised that Franks was in front of him, and beat him, and they resulted in their first try.
Yeah.
But that's just a mismatch in the defence line.
Yeah.
There's no way you can overcome that. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a conscious thing, but I found that they're doing their pop passes in a really weird way. And I think it only works if you're the size of a prop or a lock, where you actually run to near the person who you're going to do the pop pass, and sort of take the tackle that he would tack and sort of just pop it up. You sort of just run and pop. So you're not going like that. You're not creating the space like a back would, which is, I think it's almost like you could do a gut pass, but the pop pass gives you just that little bit more room, and they were doing it fantastically.
Yeah, and especially if the guy comes from a bit of depth and accelerates onto the ball, you know. Yeah.
But I do think New Zealand got away with a lot at the ruck. I think Julian Savea, I hope he gets more chances than, I think he's great.
Yeah.
Do you think he's good or enough to keep his place, or?
I don't know whether it's his haircut, but he looks as though he runs too high compared to outside, who had a lower body position. And I think to get a regular place in the team, if Sevilla ran in a low body position, he'd be much more effective. But he's certainly prepared to put his body around the place. Yeah.
What would you tell Argentina to do, like if they had that opportunity to play the All Blacks again, like breakdown?
Yeah, I think that what they've got to do is move their groups of forwards wider. Like, it's very easy to defend them if they're one or two passes wide. But if you have the number 10 as the first receiver, maybe it goes two further passes wide, and then there's a bundle of loose forwards, maybe a tight forward, running off 13 or even 15 coming into the line and saturating that channel, because they've got to work out a way of scoring tries. It's all very well running onto your passes and looking pretty good, but there's got to be a finish. There's got to be a reward.
Do you think that's the problem, or the problem is more what happens once that player gets tackled?
Oh, they've got to learn not to die with the tackle. Exactly. They've got to try and evade the opposition, and by evading it, they force a low tackle, which frees the arms to make the pass you're talking about.
Yeah. You don't think I think clearing out rather than covering.
At the ruck, at the tackle.
Yeah.
You mean clearing out as an attacking team or a defensive team?
As an attacking team.
So you get quick ball.
They have to have three players past the tackle player to make it clearly obvious that if there's any opposition players behind there, they're offside.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you can't ruck, do that to make it obvious.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
are
if they
you are
together,
allowed to ruck,
you
are
know.
you? Is rucking outlawed or?
Well, if you stand on someone maliciously, it's called illegal.
Yeah.
You can play the ball with the foot.
Yeah.
In fact, it is the law that after the tackle is completed and the ruck is formed, the ball has to be played with the foot.
Yeah.
What it's also saying, however, is the ball can't be kicked forward.
Yeah.
And I think one of our players got penalised for kicking the ball through their ruck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the high school kid in the I don't know what team it was in the big high school competition? Came on as reserved, stamped on someone's head, and then threw a punch. And
Oh my God!
Gets sent off immediately.
What school was that?
I don't. It
was it Sacred Heart or
no? Yeah. It was one of the top. I think it was. I don't want to say and be wrong.
Yeah, fair enough.
I saw. Yeah. I have to look it up. But yeah, it was really.
I think the other thing is that when we regain possession, we're willing to take the risk of a bad pass to make penetration almost immediately, so you catch them unawares.
But I thought there was a ton of bad handling, and I think it was unnecessary bad handling, and I think it comes back to maybe giving a sense of desperation in players who only get on the pitch every once in a while.
Yeah.
I think
get them to be a bit more cautious. Yeah.
Yeah, which is tough because the centre, the Canterbury centre. What's his name?
Good you. Yeah.
He was great, and I think the more confidence in okay, this position's yours. I think it allows him to not throw that pass.
Yeah.
And you don't need to throw that difficult pass too much. I don't think. Because if you have a look at the handling errors, there was a lot.
Yeah. But I think what the players outside the ball carrier have got to do, that if he tries to beat the man on the outside break, they've got to come immediately into the inside channel where there'll be space for them to run onto the ball.
I think, they've got to have everyone's got to have confidence in their pace and just take a step back.
Yeah.
And I thought the second five who came on, I hope he who was it? Leonard Brown.
Yeah.
He was great again.
Yeah, he did.
No mistakes, no tackling errors, no handling errors.
No, retained possession, yeah.
I think the only thing I was thinking is that we don't have a very dynamic runner in the centre.
All right.
We've got workman-like guys. And how good what was his name? Frizzell was.
Yeah.
Could you move Frizzell to the centre, or is he not fast enough?
I don't know about the speed, but I think he's good enough to be like a rover who just spends his time entering play when he sees the opportunity.
Yeah, but it's kind of like you would have to sacrifice a workman like loose forward, which could be too much.
Maybe the captain's got to tighten his play up and he goes and helps Severe. Although it can be the side of the scrum you move to too. If it's going to Severe's side, he's the one who has to sacrifice his running role. Yeah. And if it goes to Frizzell's side, he's the one who's got to.
Yeah, but I don't think you could have Frizzell and Severe in the same team against, Argentina are a great team. The score was flattering to the All Blacks. But why not put Frizzell? What would you lose from putting Frizzell in the centre?
That's right. The last one we did that was Eric Rush, who went from loose wing to loose forward to wing.
But he was crazy fast and smaller, so it wasn't that much of a transition.
But those Argentinian backs when they come from depth and run on, and they're capable of beating a man.
Oh.
They're good rugby players. I like the comment of their coach who said we had a number of backs in today's game who, if we're selecting a combined team, would replace the All Black backs.
Oh yeah, their wings were fantastic.
Yeah,
I liked how confident they were too. Like the Australian wingers, who I think they just don't. I don't know if they don't have confidence or don't have the ability. I don't know which one it is, but they looked scared to run, which is weird for an international winger. I think if you're an international winger, you should think you're the fastest person on the pitch.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get, but I think a number of them got tackled from behind by Damien McKenzie, Bowden Barrett, and Bradley Smith. What's his face?
Ben Smith.
Ben Smith. Yeah.
Ben Smith. Yeah.
And that's got to be bad for your confidence as a winger.
Yeah.
Being caught from behind.
Oh, exactly. Well, in the past, there have been guys who have made international teams who are out-and-out sprinters, who are not much good at tackling.
Yeah.
Just about have to have the ball placed in their hands. But because they got gas, they can finish. And so you tolerate that.
The French used to have that. The French used to have those wingers who were just crazy fast. And sometimes they would do something ridiculous, but sometimes they would score tries.
Yeah. Well, that's San Andre, their captain, who I think is coaching now.
Yeah.
He was just unbelievable. And they don't run in straight lines either. They still go forward, but they beat men.
Yeah.
And really cause the defence to panic. Yeah.
For the amount of time that Frizzell broke the line, which I couldn't believe against, because I thought the Argentinian loose forwards were good too. But the amount of times he managed to break tackles. But he looked like somebody who had never got through a tackle. When he got through, he looked, and he didn't go. I just wish they would. Once you make a break, go wide.
Yeah,
that's where the fast people are. You can, and severe too. They go up and they don't just make that run. If you're not going to make it you go wide, because then it takes longer for their forwards to get there. Your forwards are coming there, and you've got your fast guys out there. Their fullback sucked up. Instead, they die, allows quicker, fuller forwards to come in. But I mean, that's something that could easily get going.
I think there's something to be said too for passing before you're tackled, and then you can support of the ball carrier.
Yeah,
you don't have to die with it.
Well, but like going through and not creating different angles. Not heading to the touchline, having someone coming on the opposite, and then doing things like that. But what did you think of the test being in Nelson?
I suppose that I don't know whether it was to celebrate the occasion, but the first game of rugby ever played in New Zealand was played in Nelson.
Oh right, yeah.
And so I guess that was it. But Mum said that why with only 7,000 people there, but there was 21,000. They put up a lot of temporary seating.
Yeah,
and it seemed to be a big day in Nelson. So, like New Zealand's a small country by population, and you got to spread it around if we're going to keep rugby going.
Well, how much? I mean, so on the heels of asking the government for money to pay players.
Yeah,
you can do that, but you lose 20,000 times 100 in ticket sales. Do you not?
Yeah. There was those losses, and of course, I don't know about the solution to that problem, but most of the poor countries allow their players to play offshore, get paid there, and have in their contract they assemble 3 weeks before a test match or 2 weeks or whatever it might be.
As you said, Brazil doesn't have any of its great soccer players playing in Brazil.
Well, until they got the Juarez, the Argentinians got that super team, most of their players were playing in Europe.
Yeah.
But put the Pumas together, they all had to assemble. Actually, there was an occasion in which the Pumas assembled in France because it was a quicker place for them all to go.
But I think, your one that you said, New Zealand hasn't got the raw capital to keep players, but there's social things you could do to keep them. You could tax exemption, or I don't know if people would be upset with that, but we don't really have capital to give people. But if you want other ways to mitigate like losses that we would have for playing in New Zealand, you could do that.
Yeah, you could. I think that Irish solution, because Ireland's population is about the same as New Zealand's, where they give you 40% of your tax back after you've finished your career, so long as you've kept playing in the country.
Well, what about even something as simple as free healthcare for
Yeah, yeah,
for anything like that's got to be huge. You know, like a young player comes in, might get in New Zealand Colts or something. I don't know what level you would do it at, but you know, it's got to be tough for somebody who gets a career-ending injury, having put all his eggs in one basket.
yeah. Well, the bad injuries are covered by the New Zealand Rugby Academy. No, it's not an academy. There's another name for it, in which they actively help all those with back injuries.
For how long?
Until they're right. Yeah, it can be for the rest of their lives.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not a trust. There's another name for it, but that's been going for many years. People have been putting money into that.
Yeah. I mean, there's enough wealthy people who like rugby that could do no interest loans to people. Things like that. If people really want to keep New Zealand players in New Zealand, there's things that can be done. So, anything more you want to say about the Argentinian test?
The other thing was the kickoffs. You're either kicking off long and chasing hard, or kicking off shallow and winning the ball.
They're kicking
but
in the middle
to achieve your objective. And kicking off shallow and not winning the ball, you've got to work out what the problem is.
It was kicking off middle. It was
kicking off, which is virtually just giving the ball to the opposition
and not kicking it short enough that you can't. You're not allowed to pass back anymore. But if you wanted possession, off a kickoff, you'd want it in the middle of the park, just over the 10-meter line.
Yeah. Although if you go back to Andy Hayden's day with Grant Fox, he would kick off, say, to the left on an angle that would skew the ball so it was virtually going parallel to the 10-metre line and just over it. Hayden would start off in touch.
Yeah.
And he would come from the other angle.
Yeah.
And leap for the ball, turn it with his back to the opposition, and either catch it or palm the ball back. And that used to be very common.
I know,
but we don't do it now. We have other options. Yeah.
I know it would be really difficult, but I'm sure some kickers are good enough and some guys are good enough to, as if you're the kickoff team, to have two guys to actually get there and lift.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, the receiving team does lift.
Yeah.
Although you can put someone up as a dummy jumper and to overcome that.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that retaining possession from the kickoff, with the time these young guys have got on their hands, have got to be able to kick as accurately as Grant Fox did. After all, he was an amateur, and so was Hayden, and so were the other guys who were part of that technique.
Was that when kickoffs were always on the ground, though?
No, a drop kick, when you bring your foot through the ball and pull it across, you can put a curve on the ball.
Yeah, but
curve back in.
Was Fox playing when it was a drop kick from restart?
I'm not sure.
He might have been because he wasn't, because I remember watching the game with you and Murray Deaker at Auckland when Kerwin was playing and Sean Fitzpatrick, and the ball boys would come and put their little sand mounds.
Oh,
and Sean Fitzpatrick was such a game player that they walked past from scoring the try, being up like 40-10 against Bad Plenty, kicked the sandcastle over. So the boys had to come back over, so they had to set up all over again for no practical reason other than to be a dick. But so Fox would have been always kicking from from his little sandcastles.
Right. Yeah. But you know, when you do drop kick, it's hard to get the ball to go straight because your leg has to come in on an angle.
Yeah, yeah. You can get it high enough.
Yeah.
I would really want to see the comparison between. I don't know if anyone has an old ball anymore, and the new ball, and that old Australian Wallabies leather ball. That was the best ball in the world to kick.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
I reckon it might be time to put more. Oh, what happened?
Oh, someone's trying to ring me.
Okay. Oh, we can keep on talking then. Just cancel it and. But it might be time to bring that leather ball back.
Yeah.
Because kicking would be. It would be nice to have that stretch of the game back.
Yeah.
And like the reason why the leather ball went away is because people had one leather ball for the whole season. By the 8th season, it was a piece of soap.
Yeah, it was very difficult. And the irony of that is that the last rugby union to do away with leather balls was the French.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. What's on next week?
All Blacks Springboks in Wellington.
Okay.
And Argentina, Australia in Australia.
It could be a wet one in Wellington, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. It was miserable down there last weekend. It was cold and windy and wet.
They should just play in Central Otago all the time because it's always lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll look at those games. This has been Watching Rugby with Lee. See you next week.
Okay.